right there. That's where I hyperextended my arm and tore my bicep muscle right at the ligament. So here you can see me looking at it, and it completely shriveled up to my deltoid muscle. And that fight happened about 2 weeks ago, and that injury happened in the second round. And unfortunately, I didn't win the fight, but I did continue fighting until the last round, and it was extremely difficult to do so because I wasn't able to use my left arm at all. Even when I would kick and I would swing my arm, my arm would hurt in the bicep area. But nonetheless, this video is made to showcase how I deal with these injuries, and this is not the first injury that I've had. I've been dealing with this from the beginning of my career. So in 2008, that was after 2 years of me training. That was my second amateur fight. I ended up cracking my rib, and so anytime I would kick with my right leg after the fight when I would train, it would hurt. So I wasn't able to kick with my right leg. So for me, I try to drag a positive aspect out of that negative situation. So I took it as an excuse to just perfect my left kick. So I was working on these small details on the left kick, and then obviously after I came back, full training after a couple of months, when my rib healed, it was like night and day with my lead kick, my shuffle kick. It was completely different, and it was all due to working those small little minute details within that technique. And that's exactly what this injury forces you to do. It makes you think about those small details. So here, I'm working mainly things from my right side. So I'm working on my right knee, my right kick, and then I'm doing both tees because it doesn't hurt my left arm. But I'm limiting the amount of swinging I'm doing with my left arm, because if I do, I'm just going to end up tearing my muscle again. So I'm being cautious about that. But also, what I'm focusing on with the kicks is kicking from different distances, because now it's going to be a different kick. It's a different dynamic. You can't do the same kick from a short distance and a long distance. So I'm perfecting how I'm kicking from those two distances. And then I'm also working on a lunging kick as well. So I'm working on those three main aspects of the right kick. And then within these next couple of months, I know that my right kick is going to get better, because now I'm forced to just work on those specific small little details within that technique. So for me, this is, a positive aspect of this injury. I'm not taking it as a negative, because at the end of the day, what's the alternative? The alternative is for me to be upset and say, okay, you know what? I'm just going to take 2 months off, 3 months off, let my left arm heal, and then I'll slowly start coming back in. But instead, I choose to continue training, because I think that it's just going to be better me. And then mentally as well, think about what that's going to do for you mentally. Now, when you come back training, you're not thinking about, man, I took off 3 months. How am I supposed to get back in? And how am I going to do in sparring? Or how am I going to perform in my next fight? No, mentally now, you're going to be just as strong, because now you know that you continue training on. So you're not really losing anything. You're not losing timing. You're not losing your speed, your explosive power. You're going to continue working on the techniques, except obviously you're limiting which techniques you're working on. So that's another thing that's positive from this situation. So anytime something negative comes, there's always something positive that you can pull out from that situation. Another thing that I'm working on is shadow boxing as well. So I'm going to be limiting my training right now to running, bag work, and then shadow boxing. And the shadow boxing is the same concept. I'll be working on mainly things from my right side, and I'm just imagining my opponent being in front of me, and I'm just creating different scenarios for myself. So it's the same concept. I'm just working a different type of activity, which here is the shadow boxing. And for me, another positive aspect was that I needed this break anyway. I've been doing this sport for 18 years, and the longest I've ever taken off was 2 weeks. And that was because I had to quarantine here in Thailand when I came after COVID. Other than that, I would take that week off after a fight, and then I would come right back to train. And most of the times, I couldn't even last a week. Sometimes, if I was upset because of a loss, I would come back the next day in the gym, and I would start working on those mistakes that I made. So for me, I'm looking at this as a whole positive aspect with this injury on the left arm.